Good morning. Welcome back. Yesterday marked 2 decades since U.S. air and ground forces invaded Iraq on a mission to topple Saddam Hussein and, according to the Bush administration at the time, to locate weapons of mass destruction.
It's hard to believe it's been 20 years. Joining us now for more is Pennsylvania Congressman and Iraq War veteran Guy Reschenthaler. Sir, thanks for joining us. Also, appreciate your service and everything that you have done and continue to do. Can you talk about the impacts of the war 20 years later?
Yes, I think that when we went into Iraq in 2003, we had the goal, of course, of removing Saddam Hussein from power, which posed a threat to the entire region. That was good. We also had an idea that we were going to stabilize Iraq. Unfortunately, we lost the mission, not in Baghdad, not in Iraq. We lost the mission in Washington, D.C. It was really unelected career bureaucrats like Bremer and others who made atrocious decisions to hand over power much too quickly to the Iraqis. And it was also top military brass that constantly sold out and undermined the effort of the men and women that were actually on the ground fighting the war. So my generation, I feel that we won that war. It was the unelected bureaucrats, it was the top military brass that undercut our efforts, that sold out Navy SEALs, for example, that had captured terrorists. And put them on trial. I know this because I defended a Navy SEAL falsely accused of punching the butcher at Fallujah.
Right.
But I digress. But it was actions like that that undermined our war effort.
Yeah, and I think, look, as you said, taking out Saddam Hussein was a positive for America, but also for that region. And people forget, in 2002, 77 United States senators, including Joe Biden and Hillary Clinton, by the way, voted to support this war, voted with George W. Bush in favor of the invasion. So a lot has shifted around the narrative from 20 years ago, but that's 77. An overwhelming majority. Congressman, I want to get your take on what's going on with former President Donald Trump. There are rumors that he's going to be indicted in Lower Manhattan tomorrow. You were a JAG lawyer. What do you make of this? Do you think this happens?
Yeah, if I could just real fast just go back to Iraq. The mission that that was voted for by Congress and that we were fighting to obtain in Iraq to stabilize and democratize that country. That was actually attainable. Remember, we're still in South Korea. It took South Korea 40 years to democratize. We're still in Germany. We're still in Japan. Japan had zero tradition of democracy. Yeah. We could have democratized and stabilized that country. Again, we were on track to do that. But talking about President Trump and the indictment that's allegedly forthcoming this week, it's just another example of the witch hunt. It's another example of the two-tier system of justice that we have, one for Democrats and one for Republicans. There were state and federal prosecutors that would have loved to prosecute President Trump because it would have made their career for them in a political witch hunt where they succeeded. But there were zero federal prosecutors that were able to succeed. There were zero state prosecutors that were willing to succeed, that were willing to move forward. It's because there's no there. We've had one hoax after another with these witch hunts around President Trump where the bureaucracy tries to go after him and constantly fails. Now, the irony here is that you have a local prosecutor in Manhattan who ironically refuses to prosecute local criminals, who is a George Soros-funded prosecutor who's there to sit on his hands and not enforce the law. And now, all of a sudden, this guy who refuses to go after actual criminals now wants to have a political witch hunt of President Trump. It's disgusting. It shows you the two-tier system of justice. And it also shows you that these DAs, particularly the ones that are funded by Soros, have zero goals of actually prosecuting criminals. All they want to do is have political grandstanding.
Yeah, House Speaker Kevin McCarthy tweeted out, "Here we go again, an outrageous abuse of power by a radical DA who lets violent criminals walk as he pursues political vengeance against President Trump." Do you think if Trump wasn't running to be president in 2024, that we wouldn't even be talking about this?
I still think that there's so much animosity from the left regarding President Trump that they would go after President Trump regardless. He could be term limited out if he had another term. They'd still be going for him. And for everybody at home, the vitriol and the hatred that the left has for President Trump, don't think that's just directed at President Trump. That's directed at everyday Americans. The disdain that these people in Washington, D.C., the ruling elite have for those who inhabit what they call flyover country, places like Western Pennsylvania, where I represent, there is real animal. President Trump is just the lightning rod that's taking that attention. Don't fool yourself. They'd be going after you just as hard if they had the chance. But as far as this goes, the other double standard here is President Biden. You watch as Jamie Comer and Jim Jordan expose the fact that Biden and his entire family have much more in common with Whitey Bulger than JFK and the Kennedys. So, but again, where would the indictments be for them?
Yeah, and that story went away over the weekend, which I thought was very convenient timing. Congressman Guy Reschenthaler, we'll pick this up again soon. Thanks so much for being with us, and thank you again, sir,
Thanks for having me on.
for your service. We appreciate it. Lots more.